Almost every campaign needs a town for the players to go back to rest up, and maybe a town where they can find some quests. We're going to talk about 3 things your town needs. I'm Tristan. This is Heroes in Homebrew. So, the first thing, and in no particular order, that your town needs is a place for your players to sell things. When they go out into the wilderness and they take down some orcs, or they take down some goblins, or bandits, or even finding stuff in a dungeon, they're going to collect a bunch of stuff. They'll collect armor and swords because players are hoarders and they take literally everything that they can get. But they're not going to keep all this stuff. They're going to want to sell it for a little bit of extra gold to get more XP if you're doing gold for XP. So you need a place for them to sell these things. It can be one place, like maybe there's a town armorer who has all this stuff for them and buys it from them, or maybe they're going to sell the swords to the blacksmith. They'll sell armor to the armorer, what have you, but they need to have these places for them to sell random pieces of equipment that they've collected over the course of the adventure. And besides just the equipment, they might find trinkets or pieces of art or musical instruments, anything that they find and they collect and they bring back with them, they're going to want to sell it. Most of it. They're not necessarily going to keep all of it. So they need a place to sell this. It could be multiple places spread out all over the town, or it could be just like one general store and be like, this is the guy who buys all the stuff. It's the town pawn shop. And they can sell it there. Choice is up to you how much work you want to put into it, but they definitely need that place to sell their stuff. Number 2, in keeping with the needing a place to sell stuff, they need a place to buy stuff. Now, this might be the same place where they sold all this other stuff. It could be a general store where they buy their basic supplies like their rations, rope, iron spikes, whatever adventuring gear they need. They might need to buy horses, which maybe it's delivery. They might need to buy armor or swords, which means they need a blacksmith or an armorer. So they need to be able to buy this stuff. A lot of the times it's going to be the same place where they sell their stuff to. And it could be, I'll give you this stuff if you can give me a sword or whatnot. But that option has to be open to them because they're going to run out of equipment relatively quickly. They might use a rope but not be able to get it back. They might use all their spikes or they might get damaged. They're going to need to buy arrows because if they use their arrows, they might not have any left and they're going to need more. Their sword might be broken. Their axe might be broken. Their armor might be melted from acid or something like that. So they're going to need these places to buy stuff from, just like they need a place to sell the stuff. And number 3, they need somewhere to get quests. They need at least one main quest giver, someone who tells them where to go. Maybe it's a magic user who needs a specific book from a dungeon, or it's the town mayor whose daughter was kidnapped by orcs. At least one person to get the quest going and set them off on their adventure. Now, if you're playing more old school or like hex crawly games, then that one quest could lead on to other ones just through their play. They won't necessarily need multiple people with quests in the town to make things move along. They won't necessarily need all those other people to give them side quests and whatnot. But you need at least one person. Ideally, maybe you have three separate quests for them to choose from. You don't want to rely on just one quest for them to do, because if they're like, well, we don't really want to do that, then you're out of luck. But the general player contract is they're going to accept the quest that you put in front of them just to get the game going. So you need at least 1 to 3 people to give them quests. After that, when they're off on their way, the story will develop and they'll create their own quests and their own make their own decisions on where they want to go, what they want to do. But at least having those 3 people in town who have something for them to do, even if it's very small, like I need you to go into these woods and kill off all the gnolls. That's it. That's all. That's the quest. And then when they're in the woods, they might find other things like, oh, there's an entrance to the dungeon. We're going to come back here later. After we kill these gnolls, take all their stuff, go back to town, sell it to whoever, and buy more supplies, we're going to go into this dungeon. Now, of course, you can have way more stuff in your town than just that. I'm not saying that these are the only 3 things you need and that's it. Obviously, like maybe you're going to need maybe a tavern, or a tavern and an inn if the inn's not in the tavern. You might want more quests depending on how big of a town it is. If it's a small town, then you don't need a lot of stuff. If it's a large town, then yeah, you might need like town guards and a jail and this and that. So if they get into trouble, maybe they get arrested. Like it all depends on the size of the town. This is not the end all and be all of what you need in a town. It's like the bare minimum. Just to get things rolling, to get the game going, you've got somewhere for them to sell stuff, somewhere there for them to buy stuff, and someone to give them quests. Generally, depends on the type of game you're playing, but they probably won't stay in this town forever. Maybe 4 sessions, 5 sessions, and then they're going to move on. They might start going across the country or, finding other towns. And then these other towns, they're probably going to need at least these 3 things in that town to get them acclimated and, give them something else to do. But those 3 things, a place to buy stuff, a place to sell stuff, and someone, at least 1 to 3 people to give them quests, and you're off to the races. I hope this video helped. If you liked it, go watch some of my other videos, and then go build yourself a town. Save a seat for me at your table.